Welcome to the PAPAA. My name's Amy Martin and I'm one of the course managers on the Postgraduate Award of Proficiency in Assessment for Access Arrangements, or the PAPAA. And this short session is going to introduce you to the qualification. First of all, who are we? Well, Communicate Ed and Include Ed work closely together to offer this accredited training. We focus on training educational professionals who work in the area of special needs, and we aim to provide courses that are high quality and value for money. Who is the PAPAA course for? The course is designed for professionals who are wanting to carry out access arrangement assessments. In addition, they might be required to oversee the access arrangements process in their centre, and we're assuming that particularly those who are based in a centre will need to also support colleagues who are also working on the access arrangements process. The PAPAA course will lead to accreditation, which meets the Joint Council for Qualifications, or the JCQ, their criteria for an assessor for access arrangements in general qualifications. And this is a postgraduate level 7 or master's level course, and it gives a qualification in individual assessment as required by the JCQ. The PAPAA is externally moderated and endorsed by the CIEA, and we provide highly practical experience of administrating the access arrangements process alongside the theoretical knowledge you'll need to carry out assessments. What we really want to do is equip you to carry out your role when you're actually doing it in the centre. The criteria for a course to qualify as an access arrangements assessor is that it must cover the theoretical basis for psychometric tests. And there are lots of terms here on screen that you'd become familiar with if you go on to do the actual PAPAA course. The course must also teach you to use age-appropriate, nationally standardised tests, and it must cover the administration of individual tests of reading, writing and spelling, the selection and use of tests of cognitive skills, and the ethical administration of testing. Really, knowing when you're out of your depth and you need to refer to another professional, which can happen to all of us at one stage or another, no matter how qualified we are. In addition to the criteria that a course has to cover, there are some criteria that a professional has to meet. They must have a thorough understanding of the JCQ regulations, and we cover that in depth on the PAPAA course. They must be familiar with the Equality Act of 2010. Again, we'll cover that on the course. You also need to hold a qualification to teach and make recommendations for secondary age or adult learners who have got learning difficulties. And that's a quote from the JCQ documentation. We can't cover that on the PAPAA course, so we can only accept people onto the course who have got a teaching qualification. In most cases, people will have qualified teacher status, or they might have a level 5 qualification in teaching students with specific learning difficulties. There are other qualifications that we can also accept, so if you don't fit into one of those criteria, please do contact us and we will look at your particular situation to see if we can accept you onto the course. What are the course delivery options? Well, we've got 3 options for the PAPAA. We've got the PAPAA On Demand, the PAPAA Hybrid and the PAPAA Live, and I'm going to go through each of these in a little bit more detail now. The PAPAA On Demand involves online individual learning. We have an online learning environment, or the OLE, and the assignments and the taught sessions, which are video presentations, are accessed here. The video presentations can be replayed or reviewed as many times as you want. The course tutor is shown on screen like you're seeing now, and you're given a link to the course materials, which include the PowerPoint slides and the handouts to print out and make notes on. You can access the materials in your own time at your own pace. That's one of the good things about online learning. Longer blocks of time can be used, so you could perhaps spend a whole day on it, or you could break it down into shorter periods. It's really up to you to fit around your lifestyle and your work commitments. The PAPAA Hybrid is a combination of webinar training and online individual learning. You start the course with 3 consecutive webinar training days for Unit 1, where you cover all of the Unit 1 taught sessions and you begin all of the Unit 1 assignments. And these webinar days are live over Zoom with a course tutor. Then, the Unit 2 taught sessions are accessed through our online video presentations. The PAPAA Live is focused on webinar training. As with the PAPAA Hybrid, you start with 3 consecutive webinar training days for Unit 1, where you cover all of the core Unit 1 taught sessions and you begin all of the Unit 1 assignments. Again, these webinar days are live over Zoom with a course tutor. In addition to these days, later on in the course, you access 3 consecutive webinar training days for Unit 2, where you cover all of the Unit 2 taught sessions and you begin all of the Unit 2 assignments. For both the PAPAA Hybrid and the PAPAA Live, you still have access to the online learning environment where you can access all of the assignments and you can rewatch any of the sessions that you would like to. There are additional fees for the PAPAA Live and the PAPAA Hybrid to cover the additional cost of the webinar training days, and you can see the prices for these on our website. For all delivery options, you'll be allocated an assessor who will mark your work and support you through your assignments. We also have admin support from the course managers and an online forum where you can discuss assignments with other PAPAA students. So let's move on to the content of the course. Unit 1 is about understanding the principles of psychometric testing, and that includes an introduction to the principles of educational testing and the administration of standardised tests suitable for use in access arrangements. There'll be a whole range of different tests that we'll give you information about, and there's a list of abbreviations here, and if you do go on to access the PAPAA course, these abbreviations and the full names of these tests will become familiar to you. You won't have to cover all of these. Some of them are compulsory and others are optional, depending on what you're interested in. Unit 2 is all about understanding the Joint Council for Qualifications, or JCQ, regulations, which are called access arrangements and reasonable adjustments, and we refer to that as the AARA, and about actually putting those in place and applying them within your centre. The rationale, the thinking behind access arrangements, and the types of access arrangements that are available. These will be arrangements appropriate for candidates with a whole range of difficulties, as you'll see from this slide. We don't just cover learning difficulties. We really want to equip you to be able to help any students in your centre who might need access arrangements, regardless of what their difficulties are. We want to equip you to compile and record appropriate evidence as required by the JCQ. You'll have a look at case studies and you'll take part in workshops. You'll be trained to screen large groups of students but also assess individuals. We will enable you to learn how to apply for access arrangements through the Access Arrangements online system. You'll look at roles, responsibilities and systems within the centre. And we'll have a look at the Equality Act and its influence on examinations. We also look at ethical issues, data protection and confidentiality, which is really important in this area where we're collecting a lot of data about individual candidates. If you can give a few hours a week to the course, then you should be able to complete easily within the 9 months, which is what we encourage you to do. If you're working in a centre, then you should be able to get some time off to study. We do have students who are able to work more intensively on the course, and in this case we'll pair them with an assessor who's able to accommodate that, so that they can complete the course in less time. So how will you be assessed? There are online assessments on the principles of psychometric testing and also on the JCQ regulations and procedures. We ask you to carry out a videoed assessment with an individual candidate where you're administering and marking a range of different tests. Your assessor will mark that to make sure that you've carried out all of the tests completely accurately. We do have a library of tests you can borrow from for a fee to cover our costs if you don't have many tests in your centre at the moment. You'll also complete an exercise on screening a large group, and you'll consider some case studies. One of the assignments involves recording evidence on the JCQ forms, and another one involves applying for access arrangements using the Access Arrangements Online or AAO format. You'll also write 2 short essays explaining psychometric testing and looking at the Equality Act and its influence on examinations. How do you apply for the course? Firstly, you'll need to download an application form from our website and complete and return that to us with supporting documentation. The on-demand version of the PAPAA has start dates available at the beginning of each month. And have a look at our website for the PAPAA Hybrid and PAPAA Live webinar dates. Please see our website for the current fees. These include registration and certification, a login to our online learning environment, marking of your assessments and feedback, and reasonable access to your assessor via email. If there's a particular area that you're finding difficult, your assessor may arrange to have a phone or video call with you to carry out a tutorial on that area. The fee also includes technical support with accessing the videos where necessary within 24 hours on weekdays, but it's very rare that people have issues with this. Access to our online discussion forum is also included, as are postage costs of returning your work where necessary after marking. So if you've had to post something to your assessor and they need to post it back to you, that postage is covered. What other costs are there? You'll need the examiner booklets for the tests that we cover in Unit 1 so that you've got in front of you what's shown on screen during the video presentations. We specifically design our online presentations so that you don't need to have access to the manual or the full test kit for every single test that we cover on the course, as we show the essential pages on the screen with the permission of the publishers. There are also some set texts for the course. You'll need to print the course materials and the handouts, and there'll be some postage costs of actually sending any work to your assessor for marking, although the vast majority of this is done via email, so these will be minimal. When you come to do your videoed assessment of a candidate, you will need the full test kits in order to carry out the testing, as these include all of the materials you need to administer and score the tests. Hopefully you'll have access to some tests already in your centre, but if not, you will need to buy these, or we do have a library of tests that you can borrow from for a small fee to cover our costs. Do remember with this that purchasing tests won't just be useful for the duration of the PAPAA course, but when you're a qualified assessor, you will need a battery of tests to use in your role, so these will continue to be useful after you've completed the course. The final cost not covered by the course fee would be for additional assessments and tutorials if required. For example, if you needed to do more than one videoed assessment, there'd be an additional marking fee for this, as we're required to show that you could administer and mark tests with 100% accuracy. We allow for a reasonable amount of tutorial time within the course fee, but on very rare occasions, sometimes students need more time than is allocated, and on these occasions there might be an additional charge that will go to your assessor for the additional time they've given to that. If you have any more questions about the PAPAA course, please have a look at our website. You can see the address on screen now. There are also some frequently asked questions on our website, and you might find you've got the answer you're looking for there. If you've still got questions after looking at these pages, please do email us on the email address given on screen. Thank you for listening.